Hi guys, thanks for joining us for session 2 of Benjamin's Box and the Resurrection Egg story. So we're going to go ahead and get started now. I first am going to have Noah open up this egg. Wait. Annie wanted the pink and the purple egg. Oh, I guess I'm going to have Annie open up this egg. What's in there, Annie?
Ooh, it's the cross that Jesus died on.
Yeah, but what are these?
Well, a little,
Let's see. Let's show them. There we go. These are nails, Annie.
I can't see.
See them? See, they're supposed to look like nails. Okay. And what were nails used for?
God's dead.
And they're hanging Jesus to the cross. Yeah. Benjamin called Eli. Have you heard? Jesus is going to be crucified. No, cried Benjamin. He has done nothing to deserve that. Eli frowned. My father says that the only worst criminals are put to death on a cross. Benjamin went inside and sat in the dark corner of his house. He did not want to talk or even think about his sad news. But in his mind, he could still see the evil men hurting Jesus. I must go, he finally said aloud. If this is partially my fault, I can at least be there. I can pray for him. Where are you going? Asked his mother as she opened the door. To help a friend, he said. She nodded and touched his cheek. As Benjamin climbed the hill, he found a large spike. It was like those used by the Romans to nail criminals to crosses. He tucked it in his tunic and continued on. 3 crosses stood at the top of the hill, but he could not force his eyes to look up upon his friend. He noticed a small group of people apart from the larger crowd. He knew they were Jesus' dearest friends. He sat near them and bowed to pray. But the only words that came were, I'm sorry, God. I am so sorry.
Matthew 27:31. And when they had mocked him, they took the robe off him, put his own clothes on him, and led him away to be crucified.
Okay. Noah, can you open the turquoise colored egg? Uh-huh. And what do you think that was used for?
A box.
What's that one there? Let's find out. You want to read and find out? Okay. Benjamin watched as soldiers gambled for Jesus' clothes. So they used the die to gamble for Jesus' clothes. He tried to shut his ears to their cruel remarks. Finally, he forced himself to look up. Benjamin looked into Jesus' eyes and saw such sorrow and pain that it cut to his heart. But he also saw love. And like before, Jesus looked right at Benjamin. Surely this was his way of saying all would be well. Perhaps he would even do a miracle. Okay. Caitlin, can you hand this? Okay, that's fine.
Matthew 27:35. Then they crucified him and divided his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet.
And the second egg is
Mm-hmm.
It's a made-up story?
Yeah, this is it.
Okay. I thought it was Benjamin in the Bible for a second. FYI, anybody.
What is that, Annie?
A bobby pin? A bobby pin. Oh, those.
Well, this has just gotten interesting. Let me see the bobby pin. Actually, the bobby pin is a spear.
And it's not an actual bobby pin.
And it's not a bobby pin.
Oops.
Oops. Okay, Annie. Okay, this says, but instead, okay, so it said perhaps he would even do a miracle. But instead, the sky turned dark and Jesus cried out, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. The ground shook and Jesus breathed his last breath. Benjamin was stunned. Jesus was dead. As if in a dream, Benjamin heard the people move about. He saw a soldier pierce his friend's side with a spear. People hurried to take down crosses and bodies before the Sabbath began. Soon they were gone, and he was alone. He picked up a stone that the soldiers had gambled with and looked up at the dark sky. Why had God allowed it? Later that night, he opened his treasure box and placed the nail and the gambling stone inside. He looked at his collection. It seemed so valuable when he believed Jesus was the king, but now the strange items only filled him with unbearable sadness.
John 19:34. But when they came to Jesus and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs, but one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and immediately blood and water came out. Don't twist.
Yeah.
A piece of cloth.
Linen.
Look at the picture.
Okay. Benjamin called Eli the next morning. Come here. Come hear the news. Benjamin stuck his head out the window and rubbed his sleepy eyes. They posted guards at Jesus' tomb, explained Eli. Some say that Jesus will return to life. Benjamin perked up. My grandfather told me that Jesus brought some people back from the dead. Maybe it will happen again, said Eli, but the soldiers say they're making sure people don't steal the body. Quickly, Benjamin dressed and raced to the tomb. Could it be? Could Jesus have returned to life? How he hoped so. But the huge stone remained in place, and the guards blocked the tomb. Can you please move your hands, Annie? With dark, scowling faces, they told him to leave at once. As Benjamin walked slowly down the hill, he noticed a bit of white cloth hanging from a small branch. He plucked it off and rubbed it between his fingers. His parents wove cloth like this for burials. Jesus is dead, he told himself as he continued toward home. That night, he sadly placed the cloth in his box. This would surely be the last thing to remember his friend by. He tried to pray, but no words came. He wondered if God even listened.
Matthew 27:59. When Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his new tomb, which he had carved out of the rock. And he rolled a large stone against the door of the tomb and departed.
Okay.
No, I'm opening the door.
Oh,
Yeah, it's Annie's turn, baby.
Just squeeze. Just squeeze it.
Oh my God.
And it takes half the video for Annie to...
Let me help you.
And you didn't even get it open.
I know.
Just squeeze.
I am Caitlin. There we go. Okay.
Ooh, it's the rock.
Oh, it's a stone.
I feel like it's a real stone.
Did you read the wrong one last time?
That's a real stone.
Okay. Early the next morning. Okay, let me have it. Okay. Early the next morning, Benjamin went to the market for his mother. He used to enjoy the crowds in the city, but now they only reminded him of how everyone had turned against Jesus. He shuffled along without looking up. It's a miracle, shrieked a girl. Benjamin stopped in his tracks and listened. Jesus has risen from the dead. The stone's been moved. Benjamin turned and ran from the market and up toward the tomb. Could it possibly be true? Could Jesus have risen from the grave? In his heart, he believed it could be. It must be. He ran even faster. Sure enough, the stone was rolled away. He fell to his knees and thanked God. When he stood, he picked up a sharp piece of broken rock. It must have crumbled from the huge stone. With a joyful heart, he marched back down to town. Jesus was alive. In the market, he saw a woman who was a friend of Jesus. Excuse me, Noah, can you sit up, please? I know the good news, he said. Jesus is alive. Yes, she smiled. It's as the prophet said. On the third day, he'll rise. Annie, can you hold your hands back, please? Thank you. Yes, she said. It is the prophet said. On the third day, he'll rise. Some of us have even seen him. Benjamin ran home and told his parents. He placed the stone in the box. What a treasure he had now.
Matthew 27:66. Pilate said to them, "You have a guard. Go your way. Make it as secure as you know now." So they went and made the tomb secure, sealing the stone and setting the guard.
Okay. So Noah, do you want to open the last egg, please?
Nothing.
Why is it empty?
Because Jesus was dead, risen again.
Because he had risen, you're right. He is risen! Yay!
There should be a dove.
Yeah, there should be a dove.
They can't see God.
Right, he had risen. He was no longer dead, he had risen.
So he went up in the sky before anybody knew.
Yeah, he returned to life. During the next few days, Benjamin and Eli listened as the disciples shared about how Jesus had appeared to them in various places. Jesus said that all this came to pass just so forgiveness could be preached to all nations, beginning right here in Jerusalem. Explained a disciple, sorry. He said that since we saw all these things, now we can go out to tell others the good news of his forgiveness. Benjamin smiled. Annie, can you please sit up? Thank you. Annie, I need you to sit up fully. Benjamin smiled. Now he understood that Jesus had forgiven him too, and he wanted to share the good news. He ran home and got his treasure box and went out into the streets and gathered all of his friends. Inside his box, he explained, is a great treasure. The children grew closer and listened with excitement. One by one, Benjamin took out each item. He explained how he got it and what it all meant. And so you see, he said as he closed the box and looked into their faces, the treasure is really Jesus. Because of what Jesus did on the cross, we can all be forgiven by God the Father. They all cheered and begged him to tell the story again.
Matthew 28:25. But the angel answered and said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know you seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen. And as he said, come see the place where the Lord lay."
That night, Benjamin opened his box one more time before he went to bed. He examined each item, handling them all with love and care. Finally, he placed the last one back in the box. Then he knelt and he prayed. I'm going to pray this prayer, okay? So close your eyes. Dear God, thank you for letting me find all these special treasures. But most of all, Annie, put your hands back, please. Put your hands back right now, please. Dear God, thank you for letting me find all these special treasures. But most of all, I thank you for sending me the greatest treasure of all. Thank you for sending Jesus. And help me to be a good servant for Jesus. Help me to tell everyone I know about the good news. Amen. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed reading Benjamin's box. As Noah just found out, this is just a story. That was about a little boy who recalled some of the things that happened to Jesus. And it's one that's just kind of became a favorite for our family. We haven't done it in a couple of years, so maybe that's why he doesn't remember it too much.
What's the rest of it? Mom, did we? Mom,
I think we just went through
did we read that whole book?
We did. I think we just last year we just did the resurrection eggs. We just went through them and we talked about what each of the items meant. Anyhow, thank you for joining us. Have a great day and happy Easter from us. Bye bye.